You need to tell Grandma she can't come, she'll ruin the photos. 11 words. I remember standing in my brother's kitchen, holding a cup of coffee that suddenly felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds, just staring at him, thinking, who are you right now? Let me back up. My name is Sarah. I'm 26, the youngest in our family. Growing up, it was me, my parents, my older brother Daniel, who's 31, and our grandmother, Nana Rose. She raised us just as much as our parents did. When Mom worked double shifts and Dad was on the road, Nana Rose was the one braiding my hair, packing my lunches, sitting in the front row at every single school play. She is 80 years old now. She walks with a cane. Time has not been gentle on her body, but this woman is the heartbeat of our family. Daniel is getting married to Courtney. Big wedding, big venue, professional photographer, the whole production. And apparently, in Courtney's vision of the perfect aesthetic, our 80-year-old grandmother was a liability, not a guest, not family, a liability. I'm not gonna lie, I almost laughed. I thought he was joking. He wasn't. And just like that, our family split right down the middle. Family drama never starts with one big explosion. It starts with a whisper, a text. Can we talk that you almost ignore because you're tired, and you just want to eat cereal for dinner and watch something mindless. That's how it started. Daniel texted me on a Tuesday night. Hey, come over Saturday. Courtney and I want to talk about wedding stuff. I said sure. I brought donuts. Big mistake. Should have brought a lawyer. We sat down at his dining table, Daniel, Courtney, and me, and Courtney opened a binder. Color-coded tabs, fabric swatches, printed inspiration photos. The woman had assembled a brand guide for her wedding. I'm not exaggerating. There was a section literally labeled Aesthetic Vision. I was flipping through it, nodding, doing my best supportive future sister-in-law impression, when Daniel cleared his throat and said, so we need to talk about seating. And who's in the photos? I looked up. Okay? Courtney folded her hands on the table, very calm, very practiced, like she'd rehearsed it. We love Grandma Rose. We really do. But the photographer we hired is very high-end. The photos are going to be all over our social media, printed large for the house, and we just feel like, aesthetically, it might be better if Grandma wasn't in the formal portraits. I blinked. I'm sorry, what? Daniel jumped in quickly. She doesn't have to leave the wedding, Sarah. She can still come to the reception. Maybe. We just don't want her in the photos. Maybe. He said maybe. I put the donut down. I want you to understand the weight of that. I do not put down food lightly. Are you telling me, I said slowly, that you want to hide our grandmother from your wedding photos because of the way she looks? Courtney tilted her head. It's not hiding. It's just curation. Curation. She said our grandmother had a curation problem. I felt something shift in my chest right then, like a door closing, or maybe opening into a version of my brother I didn't recognize. I didn't blow up at that table. I'm proud of myself for that. I asked questions. I tried to understand. I sat there for another 40 minutes listening to Courtney explain how the photographer's portfolio was very editorial, and how Nana Rose's mobility aids, her words, not mine. She called Nana's cane a mobility aid like it was a prop malfunction would disrupt the visual flow. Visual flow. My grandmother survived widowhood at 58. She raised 3 grandchildren on Social Security checks and sheer stubbornness. She made Sunday gravy from scratch every single week for 30 years. And she was a visual flow problem. I left that apartment and sat in my car for 20 minutes. Just sat there. Then I called my mom. Mom's reaction wasn't what I expected. She got quiet. Really quiet. And then she said, well, Sarah, it's Daniel's wedding. We have to respect what he wants. I pulled the phone away from my face and stared at it. Mom, he wants to bench Grandma like she's a backup player. She'll still be at the reception. Maybe. He said maybe, Mom. Silence. Let's not make this bigger than it needs to be. And that's when I knew. My mother wasn't going to fight this. I understood why she didn't want to blow up her son's wedding. But understanding something doesn't make it hurt less. I hung up. I sat there thinking, okay. So it's just me then. I called my cousin Jen. She lost it. Within the hour, she was on the phone with 3 other cousins. By Sunday, we had a family group chat that was basically a war room. Team Nana, me, Jen, our cousins Marcus and Talia, my dad's sister, Aunt Donna. Team Daniel, my mom, quietly, Courtney's parents, 2 groomsmen who agreed with everything Courtney said because they wanted to stay on the invitation list. And then there was my dad sitting in the middle like a man on a fault line, trying not to get swallowed by either side. The group chat got loud fast. Jen declared it elder abuse. Marcus told her not to go that far. Talia wrote 3 paragraphs about what this said about Daniel's character. Someone I still don't know who screenshotted the whole chat and sent it to Courtney. Daniel called me. I'd never heard my brother sound like that before. Cold, controlled. Like he was reading from a teleprompter. You need to stay out of this, Sarah. She's our grandmother, Daniel. It's my wedding. She made you. You know that, right? When Mom was working and Dad was gone, she was the one who was there. She used to sleep on the couch when you were sick so she could hear you if you woke up in the middle of the night. A pause. I know what she did. I love Grandma. But Courtney and I have a vision for this day, and I'm not going to let you ruin it. I'm not ruining anything. You are. He hung up. 3 days later, Nana Rose called me. She doesn't call often. She's 80. Her hands shake a little. She still prefers a landline. So when I saw her number, I picked up immediately. Hi, baby, she said. Her voice was soft. Too soft. Nana. Hi. How are you? Oh, I'm all right. A long pause. I heard about the wedding. My stomach dropped 6 floors. Someone had told her. I don't know if it was an accident or deliberate. Either option makes me feel sick. Nana, Sweetheart, listen to me. Her voice was steady, but I could hear something underneath it. Something bruised. I don't want you fighting over me. You hear me? I don't want to be the reason this family falls apart. I pressed my fist against my mouth to keep from crying right there on the phone, because she was already doing it what she always does, making herself smaller so everyone else could be comfortable. You're not the reason anything is falling apart, I said. Daniel is. Sarah. No, Nana. You don't get to take the blame for this. You didn't do anything wrong. She was quiet for a long moment. And then she said, very quietly, I just don't want to make anyone feel embarrassed by me. That sentence broke me. I don't want to make anyone feel embarrassed by me. An 80-year-old woman who has given her entire life to this family sitting alone in her apartment, worried that her presence was a burden, that her face was a problem, that her body, weathered by decades of love and labor and loss, was something to be hidden away. Nana, I said, when I could finally speak, you are the best person in this entire family. And I need you to know that. After that phone call, I made a decision. I called Daniel. He didn't pick up. I texted him. We need to talk. Not about the photos. About what got back to Grandma. She called me. He replied 45 minutes later. I didn't tell her anything. Doesn't matter. She knows. And she's sitting there worried about embarrassing you. Does that not do anything to you? No response. I waited 2 days. So I called Courtney. I want to be fair here. Courtney is not a monster. I think she got swept up in the planning in a way that disconnected her from reality. I think she cared more about the photos than she ever realized she was capable of caring. And I think my brother, instead of pushing back even once, went along with it because he didn't want conflict with his fiancée. But none of that makes it okay. I told Courtney calmly. I had practiced that what she and Daniel were asking was not something I could support. That excluding our grandmother wasn't a curation choice. It was a statement. It was telling an 80-year-old woman that she didn't fit the brand. And if that was the hill they wanted to die on, they needed to understand the cost. I think you're being overly emotional about this, she said. I think you're being overly aesthetic about a human being. This is our day. And Nana Rose gave years of her life helping raise the groom. She earned her seat at that table. Silence. I think you should talk to Daniel about your boundaries. My boundaries. Like I was the problem. I think you should talk to Daniel about his grandmother, I said. Because I don't know if he's going to be able to live with this choice when she's gone. And I hope, for his sake, he doesn't have to find out. I hung up. 2 weeks before the wedding, I sat down and wrote Daniel a letter. Not a text, not a voice memo. A real, handwritten letter. I told him I loved him. I told him I was proud of who he used to be. I reminded him of the brother who had cried at Nana Rose's kitchen table when his first dog died, and how she had held him for an hour without saying a single word because she just knew. I told him that I was not going to attend a wedding where our grandmother was treated like an inconvenience. And I told him that if he went through with excluding her from the photos, from a seat of honor, from any of it that was a choice he was making, and I hoped he could live with it the day he no longer had her to exclude. I sealed the envelope, drove to his apartment, slid it into his mailbox, and went home. He called me that night. He didn't say much. His voice cracked once. "She's coming. To everything. Photos included." 7 words. No explanation. No apology speech. I said, "Thank you." And that was enough. But there was something I didn't know that night. Something I would only learn after the wedding when Nana Rose called me. Her voice carrying that particular softness that only the very old possess. The kind that comes from carrying a secret so long it has simply become part of how you breathe. "Come sit with me a minute," she said. "I want to tell you something." It turned out that for years, Nana Rose had been setting money aside. Not much. She lived on Social Security, and she knew it, but every month she had saved a little. Slipped it into an old envelope she kept in the bottom drawer of her nightstand, beneath the family photos and the prayer book she read every night before bed. She had been doing it for 4 years. Ever since the day Daniel told us he was engaged, it was her wedding gift to him. I wanted Daniel to have a little something to start with. She told me over the phone, her voice even, almost matter of fact, the voice of someone recounting a story that had already settled in them. "I know they're young. I know they have so much ahead of them. I thought I can't give much, but I can give this." I didn't say anything. But then I heard about the business with the photos. She paused. Not with bitterness. More like someone choosing their words with care. And I sat with that envelope for a whole evening. Just me and it, at the kitchen table. I could picture her exactly. The lamp on low, the hum of the refrigerator, her hands, spotted with age, resting on the table. And I thought, she continued, this money was saved with love, and love has to go where it belongs. 2 weeks after the wedding, an envelope appeared in my mailbox. Her handwriting, slightly unsteady, but every letter formed with care, like she had taken her time over each one. Inside was the money, and a small slip of paper with just a few lines. "For Sarah, because you used your voice when I no longer had the strength to use mine. I don't know how to say thank you any other way than this. Buy yourself something you love, or save it, or give it away. You'll know what to do with it better than I do." I read it standing in the hallway. Then I sat down on the floor, not because of the money, but because I understood what she had done. She had saved for 4 years, quietly, faithfully, for one person. And then she had sat alone at her kitchen table one evening, thought it through, and with no drama, no announcement, simply redirected it. No bitterness, no score settling. Just a quiet, clear-eyed decision that love should go where it belonged. That was Nana Rose. That had always been Nana Rose. She never made a production of loving people. She just did it steadily, practically, without needing anyone to notice. She was at that wedding. She wore a pale blue dress and the pearl earrings she had owned since 1987. She walked down the aisle with her cane, her back straight, her chin up, and she was in every formal portrait, every single one. She is the most beautiful person in all of them. But when I think back on that day, it isn't the photographs I return to, it's the envelope and the 4 years behind it. And the evening she sat alone at her kitchen table and decided, without telling a soul, that love had to go where it belonged. So, was I wrong? I've asked myself that 100 times, and here is what I've come to. No, standing up for someone who has spent their whole life standing up for you is never wrong. Refusing to let love be conditional on aesthetics is never wrong. Using your voice when someone you love has gone quiet, that's not making trouble. That's being family. But the real lesson of this story didn't come from me. It came from a woman of 80 who had every right to be hurt, every right to be angry, every right to hold on tight to what she had saved, and instead, simply opened her hands. Don't wait until someone is gone to treat them like they matter. Do it now. Do it even when it costs you something. Do it the way Nana Rose has always done everything. Quietly, faithfully, without waiting to be asked. She taught us that. She's still teaching us. To Nana Rose, who never needed to be in the photo to be the whole picture,